In the heart of the night, where the shadows play, Steve and Michael begin lighting up the way. Abnormal investigations, whispers in the trees. With boots on the ground, I'm chasing mysteries. Shining lights into the dark, unveiling what's unseen. Through the haunting silence, I walk where others dream. I'm on the ancient woods, where legends come alive. I'll uncover the truth, feel the shadows thrive. Footsteps on the trail, echoes in the night, searching for the secrets hidden from the light. Cryptids roam the wild under the moon's embrace. With every rustle in the leaves, I feel their haunting grace. Shining lights into the dark, unveiling what's unseen. Through the haunting silence, I walk where others dream. Among the ancient woods, where legends come alive, I'll uncover the truth, feel the shadows thrive. Each night a new adventure in the depths of the unknown. With passion in my heart, I'll walk this path alone. But with every discovery, I know I'm not afraid. For in the woods of wonder, true wonders are made. Shining lights into the dark, unveiling what's unseen. Through the haunting silence, I'll walk where others dream. Among the ancient woods, where legends come alive, I'll uncover the truth, feel the shadows thrive. So here's to the night, where the strange comes to be. With boots firmly planted on where I'm meant to be.
I'm ready. It's going to be interesting.
Can you see, Tara? I'm not hearing anything yet.
I can hear you. I can hear Ron.
Yeah, I can't hear Mike. Maybe the cat got his tongue. I don't know.
Ron, you can't hear Mike?
Nope, I can't.
Okay.
Maybe I need to check my settings or something. I don't know.
I can hear both you and Mike.
Let me check. Um, I don't know. Stop mic, stop cam. Well, I don't know. Audio, camera, audio, I would think is mic. And then let me try the speaker setting. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, Ron.
I can't hear Mike. I don't know why.
Mike
you
can
can
hear
hear me,
you.
right?
Yeah, I can hear y'all.
Okay.
So we can do it without hearing. I can hear you guys. I don't know why. But if you ask me a question, you can tell me and we can play the relay game, I guess.
Okay.
I can hear him. He laughed. I can hear him.
Are you there?
Can y'all hear me now?
Yes.
I thought
strange.
a cat got your tongue, but hey, who knows?
I can hear you, Mike.
I can't hear him now, but
Uh-oh.
Me neither.
It's breaking up now. I didn't hear what you said, Mike.
Okay, I'm
Broke
gonna
up.
switch over.
I don't think so. Okay. Ron, can you hear me?
yep, I can.
Okay, Mike's gonna step out and fix something, I think, but he asked that maybe you could go ahead and introduce yourself.
Sure, I can do
And
that. Go ahead. You ready?
we're ready.
Okay, so I'm Ron Cross. I run Pros Investigations. I've been investigating off and on for over 40 years, since the 80s. And so I hold a certification in parapsychology. And, I started seeking information back in the 70s because I had a lot of paranormal events growing up. And I have a twin brother. And so I watched a lot of TV shows, and they had pretty good ones back then. And so I was trying to learn, and I was dealing with ghostly type stuff, and my brother was too. And our parents always thought we were, making it up or just, dreaming it or whatever. And my brother and I, we both realized it was happening to both of us, and it was focused on us and not the other ones in the house. So I think that from what I understand, my biological father died in 1971 at war. And after that, I think he started visiting us and whatever. So I was very curious about how these things worked. So every show I could watch, like back in the day, like there was a show that I think it was had Darren McGavin in it, and he went out and dealt with cryptids and things, and watched that show. And then The Sixth Sense with Gary something in there, and it was about ESP and telepathy, and it was based in Stanford University in California, which, by the way, the CIA used that to recruit a bunch of psychics. So later on in life, in the 80s, when I had my own vehicle, my brother, we would go out and try to capture EVP. We didn't know much about it using the tape recorder. And then it kind of started getting interesting when the lady at work I was working with, I was in high school, I think one of my junior year, that had, I'll call it demonic type problems. And it affected my brother too. So that's kind of where it all began at. And then later on, I started Pros Investigations in 2004, and we've done ghost tours. And I think, is Tara here?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. So I met you, about 20 years ago? Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. I've been in it for about 21 years. Yep.
Yeah. And so we started working together some. And, to be honest, she told me that she had gifts. And so I'm like, okay. And so I tested her for gifts. I'm not going to narc you out, but I will. She was rated very highly in telepathy and then very high in clairvoyance. So we're talking about 25 cards, and she was getting like 21 of them right. And we were using dinner cards, and I don't know, she has amazing abilities. And so over time, we investigated, did the Fort Reno tours together for a while as well, and other things. And then when I started running into bad cases that seemed to be on the darker side, I would call her, and I was just blown away how much she would know. And I could tell stories. But anyways, that's my introduction, and I'll let Tara introduce herself.
Are y'all able to hear me now?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Hi, y'all. I'm Tara. I've been in the paranormal for about 21 years. I started my team very, very young, and met up with Ron probably on our 4th investigation. And I happen to be very good at what I do. And so without going into a lot of detail, you guys will know some of the cases that we've handled. But I started working on the more serious cases with demonics and such, and kind of working with the churches. I am Catholic, and so I work with a lot of the Catholic churches in Oklahoma.
So when she says she's good, I'm telling you, she really is. To me, it's still unbelievable how high she scored in the psychic gifts. I mean, it's the highest I've ever seen, to be honest. So, and then we started working together. And when I got some dark cases, I called her up, and I'm still shaking my head. She would know things that there's no way she could have known. And, in my years back in the 80s, I had a lady that I worked with that came to me, and I'll tell the story if you want me to, Mike. So what happened was that she lived in South Texas, and it was very hot. And back in the 80s, a lot of people didn't get divorced. It was starting to pick up, and this girl, her mom and dad were going to divorce, and it caused her a lot of stress. And so the mom took her to a psych doctor, and they determined that was part of the problems. But the mom didn't know that the daughter had played with a Ouija board. And so I think that's where the trouble started. And she started seeing figures at the bottom of her bed or at the foot of her bed, and it were very tall and black, and the room would grow cold and whatever else. Excuse me, my sinuses are acting up. But anyways, long story short, eventually the daughter was with the soon-to-be ex-husband, her father, and the mother would hear things flying around in the room. And so she knew that wasn't right. And so the daughter's taking these medicines, whatever they prescribed her. And so the mom thought it was kind of funny. But later on, it wasn't until that these things started to happen and continued to happen that the daughter woke up and the mother woke up at about 3 o'clock in the morning. So this is like July, August. And it should be in 91 degrees to 95 at night, just hot and whatever. And it was so cold. This is what the mother told me. It was so cold in the house that they could see their breath. And at that point in time, the mom knew that something was wrong. And so I've read books trying to understand the paranormal in high school and in junior high mostly. And I had read Malachi Martin's books on demonic stuff. And he's a Catholic priest who's now passed on, but really good work. And I learned a lot from him. And so I knew a guy who was a Lutheran pastor, just with a background. And he'd had an NDE. And when he was out of his body, he actually had an angel carrying him like this, like under his arms, and was taking him to heaven. And what he told me, and it was documented, he had died for 15 minutes. And in that 15 minutes, he said it didn't sleep like any time at all. But anyways, this demon was carrying him, or angel, and he looks down and he could see these demons like reaching up, like this is what he told me. And it's like he was being expected maybe to be dropped, but he didn't fear that. And when he got to the gates of heaven, is what the guy told me, he heard a voice say, "It's not your time," and he woke up in his body. But they had documented, and I believe he showed me the form that they signed where they had him dead for 15 minutes. And so he knew this stuff was real. And so I contacted him because he spoke about it. He was an older man. And I contacted him. His name was Pastor Kenning. And I asked him about these kind of things. And I told him I was reading those books. And he said, well, if this is going on, document it and see what kind of evidence you get or whatever. And I said, okay, we will. We did. And it wasn't until I went to the house with my twin brother, knocked on the door, that the door opened, and here's this lady, and I instantly recognized her face. And you're probably better at this than I am, Tara, but because if you have a dream, you're going to remember. I didn't. I instantly, and we've talked about that, but I instantly recognized her face, and when I did, the dream shot back in my mind, and I knew at that point in time it was demonic. And my brother, he didn't really feel anything, but it wasn't until we investigated and I called the pastor up and I told him what I found and what I experienced, and he kind of nodded his head. And he said, well, I'll tell you what, I'll go over there and bless the house, but it's going to be 2 weeks. I'm like, no, I was 17 or so at the time. I'm like, we need to go right now. I mean, this is very important. And don't you get it? I mean, you got to do something. And I didn't realize what you would know more about this in some cases than I do, for sure, Tara. And that is, before you face off with something like that, you need to be absolutely prepared. Is that not correct?
Oh, 100%. That's why sometimes when you call me, I'm like, let's postpone it a little bit so that I can ready myself and get right with whatever I'm about to be facing.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And so I didn't know that. I'm young and dumb at that point in time, 17. And so during that time, and I've discussed this with you before, Tara, always my kind of concern, get mixed up with this kind of stuff. But we started, when I say we, my brother, twin brother and I, and he investigates with us. And of course, Tara knows him pretty well too. Anyways, we started hearing like heavy breathing, fear, somebody in the room with you, maybe somebody, I don't know how you do it, but walking on the carpet, and, just all kinds of things, and a clock being set back like 3 hours. And it reminds me of that movie, Emily Rose. And so we were more or less, in my opinion, being attacked. And I've told you this before, Tara, and that was that I called, Pastor Kenning and told him, and he didn't seem too concerned, but he just said, as I recall, this is over 40 years ago now, he just said, I'll pray for you. And that's what he did, I guess. And so during that time, with about 3 days of him praying for us and things happening, we just needed to pray, and that's all we needed to do. And it was God's way of showing us that we really need to be prepared. So what gets really strange with this, some people may believe it, but I believe in angels. Anyway, so this angel appeared to my twin brother, and he's inside the room, and he's bigger than the roof, because the same thing happened to me when he got through with my brother. And I didn't look at that, but off the top of my head, it would be like, I think it's Matthew 12, 37 and 36, something like that, where I say his name is Yeshua. But anyways, a lot of people call him Jesus. But anyways, long story short, he said that when you cast demons out, they go to the dry places and wonder, and then come back and try to see if they can enter into that vessel again, and they find the place is swept and clean. And so this angel, when it appeared, he stands in front of me, and he's bigger than the roof. And I remember thinking in my mind that he appeared and he greeted me and said, don't fear, I come in something like the name of the Lord. And at that point in time, I'm like, wow, here's this giant angel, and he's taller than the roof. And so he was in another dimension. I didn't quite understand it at that time. And so he appeared in our dimension. And after he spoke to us and he read that verse, I went to sleep, and I woke up in the next morning, and I had my Bible laying on the desk, and I knew it where it was. So I picked it up, opened it up, and when I opened it up, it was there, and it freaked me out because you know that it's real when you really know. And I went to tell my brother, and my brother had a guinea pig at the time. He just kind of fiddle dinking around with the guinea pig, not listening. So I'm like, "You need to listen, Lonnie." And so I get to the verse and the angel, and all of a sudden my twin brother quotes the verse. And so, because he told me that the angel came to him first, and then he saw him leave his room, and start walking down the hallway. And so I knew at that point in time that this stuff was real. And then after high school, joined the army and other stuff. And then when the paranormal field got kind of big, I jumped into a full bore. Excuse me. I decided that I was going to help people. And that's what I do, and Tara's there sometimes to help me too with these cases, but she's also helped me on the Strange Oklahoma page. And I think the last time I checked, we have over 27,000 members. And we worked on the page. I did quite a bit of work on there, just trying to help people and encouraging people to share. And I would dare say that's why I'm here today, is let people know that there are people out there that care. I'm not trying to make any money, and neither is Tara. But we always went out there and helped people, and we got some different methods to help these people. So with that, Tara, go ahead and tell what you want to tell.
Yeah, 100%. We are in it to help people. We don't ever charge. So if there's someone out there that charges, they're probably, I'm not saying they're not good, but they're in it for the wrong reason. My opinion is you always, if you get a call, you answer it. I do prioritize if it's dealing with children. I always put that on the top of my list and kind of go down from there. But yeah, just like Ron said, you always want to go in prepared. There was one time I wasn't, and I was slammed against the wall, and I had a fracture in my wrist. So sometimes it can get dangerous, and sometimes it turns out okay. But the main thing is making sure the family is okay. We just had a case about a year ago, and we'll talk about that case a little bit. But I let the family know, hey, I don't have the right stuff with what I'm going against. I can sage it, but I'm 99% sure it's going to get worse. Or I can come back and have the right stuff and sage it then. It's your choice. And they wanted me to go ahead and sage, and it went a little special. But 30 minutes later, I think they called Ron saying that it got so much worse and that they had to go to a hotel. Yep. And so I, scheduled immediately to come back within a couple of days so I could get the stuff that I needed. But yeah, so always be ready for, in my case of stuff that I bring, I have different types of materials that I use, sages, so that I am ready for a wide variety of things we are up against.
I still got that sage. How about for you? Right there in the case. So we have it now.
So whenever you do this, do you ever have any of them like manifest, or do you ever see them, or are they mostly invisible?
I always see them.
Yeah.
I don't not see them. I know, like, when I'm out with my team on a normal investigation, I try not to bring them onto the heavier cases because they are a lot heavier and I don't want anyone to get hurt. And so I always see them. So I don't think a lot of people do. Um, so yeah.
Yeah, and she's right about that. She told me right away that I remember you telling me we don't have the stuff, and then I remember that it kind of backfired on us. And so I would caution people about that because I think it got worse, as I recall. I remember.
Hey, I warned him though.
Yeah, you did. And I remember thinking in the beginning that, just skepticism, like maybe she's wrong, and I can honestly say that you were never wrong. And when you would come up with the stuff, um, at the one house we went to with Tish, remember that one?
Mhm.
And
Yep.
that was amazing. Yeah. So I remember she'd asked me for information. I wouldn't really give it to her. I just told her the address and a little bit of stuff. I just told her it's going to be dark. And I knew everything. She didn't know anything, but she was amazing. Walked in and knew everything. And I'm like, how is this even possible? And, I've studied this stuff for years and worked with people and helped develop people with gifts. And like I said, when I tested you, if I'm wrong, correct me, but you were between like 93 and 97% on telepathy. And then with clairvoyance, not quite as high, but almost.
Yeah.
It was amazing. And I just still shake my head going, how does she know? How do you know?
And honestly, I have no idea. It just is.
Yeah. But, the whole thing is that, like I said, we still do the ghost tours at Fort Reno. And, when it gets really good, I want you to come out and help out. But we got like, I think 25 people tomorrow, I think. But I don't know if it's going to rain or what. But yeah, we used to have at least 100 people at the time. So we're working back up to that. So I'll let you, know. If you want to come, that's fine. But I don't know if it would be worth it or not, but you're welcome to come if you want,
Yeah, I'll come when there's when you need more help.
Yeah.
I've got just normal life stuff that I'm
No, I understand.
doing.
But if you need something, call me. But
Always.
But that's the thing, Mike, is that a lot of people go into these cases, and I talked to you about this, and it's been about 5 years ago or more, that a girl went in, and it was an amateur team, and she had experience and seen a lot of things, and she challenged an entity. You know more about that than I would, Tara. And so she challenged the entity, and it basically, according to her, I haven't talked to her in a long time, but they said they saw a cat being thrown against a wall. And so this girl loved pets. And so it sucked this girl in, and she challenged it. And next thing she knew, she's being thrown against the wall. And she told me, and I talked to her for a couple of days, she was trying to work through this, that that entity, I would say it's probably demonic, destroyed that team.
Yeah.
And everybody either got punched or pushed or whatever, or scared, and destroyed her team. And after that, she gave it up. So you would probably know more about that than I do, Lindsay or Tara. Getting names confused. Anyways, you would probably know more about that than I do. But yeah, I think you're absolutely right that these things can be dangerous. And I've heard of people going out and trying to summon, spirits in graveyards and all kinds of things. And I just don't think it's a wise idea.
Yeah, you always want to make sure that you're good. I have so many rules and regulations in place that other teams don't. And it's mostly because you want to respect what you're going into, because you don't know how that anomaly will react. We were working with another team at Fort Reno. We were in the infantry.
The commissary?
No, the hospital, what they use as the hospital. It always smells as Band-Aids.
Okay, yeah, that was the old
that
post office. Yeah.
Yeah. That
Oh, yeah.
they yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And we were talking to a young child, and the team member asked for it to prove how she died, and immediately he went down. And I told him, I go, don't do that. And immediately he did, and he went down with symptoms of smallpox. So you always have to be careful. You never want to go in and what do you say, Zach Baggins it? You don't ever want to just go provoke.
Yeah, no, I agree. You have any question for us, or we can't hear you, Mike? I can't hear you. Yeah, I think the whole thing is that you got to use some reasonable discernment with the whole thing, or there may be consequences. Because I won't mention any names, Tara, but you remember a person that you remember very well. She went in and was talking about the spirit there at Fort Reno, and that the guy was a drunk in life and whatever, and she paid that evening. Remember I told you that story?
Yeah.
Where it started yelling in her ear in the middle of the night. And yeah, she contacted me and said, I told you not to say it. I could sense it too, but not like you can and she could. And I knew better. But she went ahead and did it anyways, and there were consequences to it. So, that's the thing I really enjoy working with you, that you always know what we're up against and how to handle it. I can sense it, but not near like you can, So anyways, but we've seen that many times. And you remember Chris in our research site there in Guthrie, where he did some provoking and his camera was picked up about 6 inches off the floor and then dumped.
Yeah.
And you remember that story?
Yeah.
So, there are a lot of people that just don't get it, and so I'm careful who I work with,
Same.
And then,
I'm very careful with who I work with. Yes.
Yeah. Let me ask you this: what about the time that which I really found surprising when I called you and asked you to go there, and that was Tish's house and her husband, where somebody had I guess practiced witchcraft and Satanism. Remember that?
Yeah.
And they buried the stuff outside of the home by the drive or the stem wall of the property. And then when the fire happened, they had to dig some of that up to replace pipes, and found that stuff. And so they gave it to the homeowner, the new homeowner, and he went out and buried it by the storm cellar. Remember that?
Yes. Yep. They didn't get all of it, though, did they?
No, I don't think they did. I don't think they did. And then you can tell the story, but it's one of my favorite stories. But I want you to tell it about the time you told me to check the closet for the candle wax. Remember that?
Yeah. So we were just kind of doing a walkthrough, and I was going through and telling them kind of what happened. And there was a little walkway, a little hole in the wall that you could go into
unfinished closet, I guess.
Unfinished closet, yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, there's something in there, and you were like, no, there's not. And I go, no, there is. And I, tapped the wall, and I said, there's burned red candles.
Yep.
And you went a little further down where I tapped and found them.
Yep. And I was like, never been there. How did you know? And then, I got used to working with you. I'm like, it's unbelievable. But when you see it in action and you experience it, and you know the person, and you withheld information, and they know, I mean, that's legit. And there was 3 people that I've worked with in the last 20 years, you being one of them, and then we won't mention the name right out, but G, remember her, and
Yeah.
then Jeff, that was on my team, and Jeff was that guy that he had abilities, but I worked with him, for about 2 years, and I would have him go in and let him get in touch with himself and get that information. And so sometimes I try to screw him up and make things up and say, "Well, Jeff, I think there's a little girl here," and he'd go, "No, Ron, no, no, no. This is what's going on. It's a boy, and he's about 7 years old, and he has a blue shirt or whatever," and he would get it right. So what I had to do is train him to know when he's right or wrong.
Oh, wow.
And so with Tara, when she started telling me stuff in the beginning, I'm like, okay. But then later on, when we checked records, she was absolutely right. Absolutely. But
Yeah, like the Chinese man at the mercantile.
yeah.
You didn't believe me when I was telling you about him, and then there were records of him being buried alive. Yep.
Yep. And there was energy there and things that happened.
Do they appear more as children, or do you get more adult?
It depends on the location. They're not, I mean, if they died an adult, they're an adult. If they died as a kid, they're a kid. So it kind of just depends. Children are, I want to say, a little more prone to being around just because they don't understand what happened to them. But they are also easier to, like when I cleanse the house, I get rid of it. It ceases to exist. With children, I call upon help from the angels so that they go to the correct destination. So I'm always more careful when it does pertain to the child or a child. I'm also very clear with homeowners because they are like, I don't want it in my house. And so I'm like, this is what happens. I'll leave it to your discretion. If you want it gone, we'll do it. But you need to know what you're actually doing. So I am very honest. I'm very straightforward. We had a case recently that unfortunately I was told not to tell the truth, and I flat out said that is not acceptable. I will 100% tell the truth, and that's just not my place to lie at all.
I totally agree, and that's
Wow.
What's funny is, Mike, occasionally we had a homeowner about a year ago from Memorial Day, I think it was, or so, maybe 2 now. I can't remember exactly. But you remember that one, Kara?
Yeah.
Where we went in and they were going to do some work on the house, and I didn't tell you. And the first thing you walked in, you smelled, remember?
Yes, paint.
Yeah.
Like very fresh paint, as if it had just been done like maybe 30 minutes before we had arrived. It was very distinct, but they had not painted yet.
Yeah, and that's the thing is I knew they were going to paint. They told me it was Memorial Day, I think, and they were going to have the painter come on Tuesday. And so I don't smell the paint. She did, and another person that's connected with her smelt the paint, but we didn't. And then I found it amazing. And then when we walked into that place too, remember the first thing you mentioned, EMF?
Yeah.
And so I got out to meet her, and that place was very
full of it.
So they didn't use shielded wire. And so now people are having these experiences, and I can't say you can, whether it was brought on because of the high EMF or was there something there. The thing that got me, unless somebody gave us bad information, is that they said a little girl, I think, in a yellow dress. Remember that?
Yeah, she was definitely there, but she
Okay.
was not as prominent. There was a lot of high EMF, which allowed her to kind of pull from that energy
Yep.
and manifest a little easier. But she was just there to hang out. But the EMF definitely caused distortion, and when I walk in, it's instant like headache, coloration. For those of you that don't know what coloration is, to me, it is like if you walk into a room full of computers, you have that buzzing. It's immediately like that. I just have buzzing everywhere. And a lot of times I can tell how many people are in the room, if they're dead or alive, that type of stuff.
And the fact you know if somebody's mentally unstable.
Yeah, I can tell that too.
Yeah, more than once. So, you know, I just learned to trust you. If you said it, it's good as gold in my book. Even though I don't have any proof, you know, those things happen. And there's a lot of people out there with problems mentally, but there's also people with problems, I guess, spiritually, and maybe drugs and other things. But you normally sense that stuff and would tell me, because I remember a time or two when we went out to the car to have a break,
Yeah.
and you tell me, I'm like, okay. And you are always absolutely correct. And in fact, where I sit, you came here and knew things that there's no way you could have known. Is that not right?
Yes.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, Marsha's listening. So,
Oh, hey, Marsha.
Hi.
so, you know, it's just amazing, you know, when you can really work with somebody that makes a difference like you know, and I've always had a good time. It's always been positive and refreshing. And, you know, it took me a little while to really trust you like I should. Maybe I'm hard headed, but after too many times and seeing this stuff, I had no choice but to believe what you said, you know? And
100%.
yeah,
You know, even I sometimes just, I'm
yeah,
like, when I
how do you
get
know?
home, I'm like, did that really happen? Am I, right? Did I get it right? Did I get it wrong? I always second guess myself because this is such an unknown field. And again, I don't know why I'm able to do what I'm able to do. Some people say it's because I'm Native American. I don't know. So I 100% agree. Like you should always check and verify and guess and do the research.
You know, it's strange you say that. When I was studying parapsychology, that some of the well-known ones, um, typically they would work with a medium and they would test them. And so they knew, just like I know, you know, I could sense some of this stuff, but you're way beyond me. And so they realized that there are people, and I tested you in the field and more than once and cards and everything. I never could disprove anything that you ever did, or you know, it's just crazy. But once I realized, I know now um, through time that I can trust you. But there's a lot of parapsychologists out there that work with mediums, not just you know Joe Blow down the street, but they find them and they work together as a partner, and they do what you do is they'll move the spirits on to the next realm where they belong. And you know, I know you do that as well. And a lot of people think it's hokey pokey, but you know, the proof is in the pudding. Is what
Yeah.
yeah.
I think I have maybe a 98% cleansing rate.
Yeah. Yeah. No, she's right. And you know, it's just amazing, Mike, when you go to the field and you see and experience that kind of stuff, you know. Um, you walk out of there with your head spinning, but by the same token, when it's a tough one, I feel it and she really feels it, the drain that it takes to do I don't know if I want to call it combat, being former military, we'll call it that. And it takes a toll on you. And there's been more than once we stopped to get your favorite treat, which is
Yeah.
chocolate, right?
Dark chocolate is the
Yep.
best. It just rejuvenates your energy again. And as sad as it is, if you watch Harry Potter, they're right. After Dementors, you eat chocolate, and that's kind of the same thing. I go for chocolate to because normally after a cleansing, I get violently ill to
That's true.
get everything out of me, and so then I'm just completely wiped and drained. So
Let me ask you this, just for clarification purposes. You say you're already drained. I've seen it happen to you. I've seen it mess you up. And, I'll go get the chocolate beforehand because I know it could be that way. But do you feel like that it's just the fact that you've been around that energy and it's soaked into you? Or is it like a skunk spraying you and you got to cleanse yourself? Or what do you really think it is? Is it just that ooky bad energy? Because I know when I come home afterwards, I got to eat something and go to sleep for like 10 or 12 hours.
So yes, a little bit. So I was never taught how to do all of the things like so how I do it is I normally take everything into me and then I have to get rid of it somehow, which is the vomiting and that. It's not pretty.
No.
But that's the only way I know is to kind of absorb it, kind of like Reiki. Most Reiki masters don't have the ability of not taking the pain or whatever into them. I don't know how to not do that. So I take all the pain in and then I have to go and get rid of it. So I just kind of, I guess that's how I do it. So before a case, I normally sleep a lot. After a case, I'm normally down for about a week. There's only been 2 cases I've been down for more than a week. And one case, I was really scared and started calling every priest friend that I knew to figure out if I did something wrong and how to feel better.
Yeah, it's amazing, and that's why I said I remember many of those darker cases. I would sleep for like 10 hours straight and not wake up, so there's something to it. You give it yourself. And, the one thing that I've learned about you too, and it's funny, Mike, is that when I started looking at other aspects of the paranormal, and of course I'm trained in past lives and all kinds of stuff, and I would begin to dabble in it. And when I tell Tara about it, I can't say I was warned, but she would warn me. And then come to find out later, she was absolutely right. And it's like, kind of like an advisor that's not just advising you because, she knows. And so I've looked at other things and dabbled in it like reincarnation and things like that. And she warned me against it. And and it's really hit me hard. And so I realized that she has this gift, from God to help people. And so I guess to do that, you really got to just give yourself into it and give your all. And I think that's what you do. But you've been right so many times warning me, and I should have listened. And I'm like, okay, I'll dabble some and get my information.
You dabble a lot.
Yeah, but to be honest,
that was the last time more than you should have.
yeah. So that's true. And so there are consequences. And it's funny because that's what we try to warn people against. But I guess it's curiosity in some sake. But, the thing is that we really try to help people. And I try to understand. And I guess that's what gets me in trouble, trying to understand, So
It is, because once you go down the rabbit hole, you want to keep going. You want to
You
keep
learn.
learning and absorbing.
Yeah.
But there are stops in place that will deter you and say enough is enough, turn around. Just like, if you're coming to a landmine, and there's so many warning signs, but you're like, oh no, I can keep going. No, they're there for a reason. You need to stop. And if you keep pushing, then you'll I guess reap what you sow.
Yeah, no, you're right. I agree. But what do you think about, kind of on the subject, different subject, but, people like Edgar Cayce that was able to get all this information and help people like, we try to do, not comparing to Edgar Cayce, but um, like you talk about those stops, it seemed like Edgar Cayce, for some reason, he wasn't doing what we were doing, but he didn't have those stops. And that's always got me, why some people do, some people don't. Maybe it's God, the universe, whatever, because it's not good for us. But it seems like in some cases, some people that have those gifts and help people can do it more than others. Like you can do it more than a lot of other people. I've always wondered why, and I think this is my thought, maybe right, wrong, or indifferent, that you can read the signals and stop where other people maybe can't. I don't know. I've always wanted to know, you know.
I think that's just more that when I didn't know I was like you, I would ignore the signals. And I pushed too much, and it was not good. And so I learned very quickly then that you only go so far.
Right.
The reason that I can do as much as I do is I kind of forego some of the blocks, and I'm like, this person needs help, so I have to do it. And so I don't really take my health and energy level into consideration, and I just push myself. But I do definitely have setbacks where I'm like, no, you can't do that anymore.
No, I remember that. Yep.
And so, I keep trying as hard as I can to mostly make sure that I'm available if someone needs help. And sometimes that can be at 3 a.m, which is fun, but for the most part, I like to keep normal business hours.
Let me ask you this. What advice, if somebody who's listening to this podcast, what advice could you give people that want to do what you do or think they have that gift? What would be the first thing that you would advise a person to do if they either have the gift or start to develop it? How do you combat that to make sure that nothing negative happens?
You really can't. The only thing that I can say is really think long and hard if that's the route you want to go, because once you open up, it is very hard to close and shut everything down. So if you need, assistance, find someone that knows what they're doing, has a record. And I'm not saying someone that goes into someone's house and is like, oh, the kitchen has a portal. I'm not saying something like that. But I am saying someone that can genuinely do what you are wanting them to do. Like my specialties are, again, I'm a precog or classified cog. And I can also do a reading. I am not a medium. That is something different. I don't even know how to do what they do. I am not a crystal ball reader, but so also learn what the specialties are. Not if someone is like, oh, I can do everything. That's not possible. You can do maybe most people can do one thing, and then some people can do two. I've never met anyone that can do three different abilities. And I've met a lot of people. So, learn, and I guess meditate. I meditate a lot.
Yeah.
I find a happy spot, find a happy place or something. And also, if you're really serious about it, you're gonna need to find your animal, whether that be an actual animal or, funny enough, which is, some people make fun of me, but my animal is a Care Bear. So you always have to find that animal or something, so that you can
Direct your
come
energy.
back home.
Yeah.
And
Direct
have
your energy. Is that what you're saying? Direct your energy?
No, so you can come back home and you can have that safe spot. Your animal is there to protect you, kind of like a big blanket. It's there when you feel sick or after an investigation or cleansing, and it's kind of just a safety blanket. And that you find with meditation. Some people have wolves, some people have just different types, cats. So yeah, but the main thing is make sure you know what you're wanting to get into.
Have you ever had one follow you home?
One, yes, but it was a little boy, and I just kind of let him go with me. But for the most part, absolutely not. And if I have like my team with me, absolutely not. We had one case where we went, it was an old school, and something was really wrong. And we went in, and I had one of my teammates, which I let go. She invited the anomaly to come with us. And I turned around. I shut that down immediately. You could hear a loud scream and the roof kind of shudder. And yeah, I absolutely shut that down. I think there's been a time at even the Mercantile where I've shut stuff down, and Ron, have heard the roof shudder when I do that.
Yep. That's a true fact.
No. I protect everybody I'm with 100%.
Yeah, so, that would be amazing, just to see, to hear the roof like that. That would,
yeah. In that building, Tara spent a lot of time there with me, and you would hear footstep, voices, be like somebody in the other room having a conversation. That place was sometimes very active, and other times it's like sitting here in my chair. Well, it's a haunted house too, as Tara knows, but nothing happens. And then other times you just walk out of there amazed. You never knew. And you got to have the right people there, I think, a lot of times. But she was always the right person, even if the place wasn't active. If she told you something, Mike, I come to believe whatever she says because I've seen it with my own eyes. And, like the satanic stuff being buried by the foundation of the house and then reburied by the cellar and the candle wax. And there's just too many things. At some point in time, when it's true and it's in your face and she'd never been there and she's telling you this, you have to deal with it. And so when she tells me something, I listen.
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
You talked about hearing that breathing that one time. That reminded me of one of the, I think, scariest things I've ever watched was the Haunting of Connecticut documentary. And, the mattresses, they were breathing. That was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
No, you're right. I remember that one too. And, sometimes like she says, and I would tell people, a lot of people used to watch Zach Bagan. We knew who cleansed him. Her and I both know that person that cleansed Zach. Anyways, long story short, I think people think it's cool, and I think that when you do that, you don't realize the consequences when you do other things because you think that's cool too. Like picking up a rattlesnake. Hey, look at me! What?
Oh, we had to clean up one of Chip Coffey's case.
Oh, that's true. That's absolutely true.
When he did Psychic Kids, the girl from Oklahoma, we had to go and clean up his mess. Ooh.
I forgot about that.
So, have you ever had any encounters to where you've heard of people talking about like photos on the wall communicating with people?
Photos say a lot.
Really?
Photos can say a lot. If you are the right person.
Yeah, there's a reason for the question. I can't say who it was, but I know a very close person to me that was sick and was terminally sick, and there was a photograph of a Indian, and the Indian would get just conversation. And in the conversation, it would ask, like, who are your children? How old are they? What are their names? It would continue. And then it ended up giving its name. It said that its name was Leaning Feather was the name that it gave. There was things that happened, like something would feel like it would sit on the bed beside this person. A lot of weird stuff would happen around. Now, we removed the picture and everything stopped. And I was just wondering, is that common, or have you ever heard of that? Because that was really wild to us.
So, Native Americans feel like, and this is why, like, a lot of on like tribal property and stuff, you don't take pictures because they feel like pictures capture the soul. And so, I'm not 100% sure on that, but there's got to be something to it because that is something that is passed down. And even when we're on investigations and stuff, when we would go to a place, they would say, don't bring cameras. And so, you always respect what they want. But I do believe that there is something to that. Because when I used to work missing people cases, and I would always go for the photo first to get more information.
I think with that said, Tara, that when you take a picture, I think it involves quantum physics and maybe possibly the multiverse, and that's why people can get a picture that's gifted like you of somebody and hold that picture and know all about them. And Gerard Courcette was one of those people. And there's others, like Peter Herkoff and others, they could read a picture. And so I think that based on what I know and what I've studied, that it's part of, I would say, quantum physics. And it's a big connection with people. So people can look at a picture and know the feelings or what people are feeling there, or people died there, whatever. So I think that if it's a picture of somebody, I think you're absolutely right. I can't say totally capturing the soul, but it is part of that person. Is
right.
What I've been, I can't say taught, but through the information I've read. So I think it's a good way to put it is like you said, Tara, is that it's like capturing that person's soul, because if somebody can read it and get information, there's got to be some connection there, right?
Yeah.
Well, this was just a painting, though. It was just a painting of an Indian and it wasn't like a real photo, but he stated that it would visit with him, and there was other people that actually experienced like the physical part of it. You know, the sitting on the bed, that you could hear it. It would sound like something walking on the floor. It was, you know, creaks, and like there was something really there.
If that's the case, then he may have been attached to the painting. But if, like, say you're editing a paranormal show or a paranormal investigation on your computer, that is not going to come out and now your house is haunted, or wherever you're editing is haunted. Or you're watching, a lot of people I hear, you know, oh, if you watch this scary movie, then your house will be haunted. That doesn't happen. Now, something can be attached to the painting, and so that person could have been attached to the painting. But as like something coming out of the painting, no, that can't happen. I've never heard of anything. I've never seen anything, and I'm not saying I know everything, but in all the research I've done, and all of the more professional experience. There we go. Thank you. People that I've had many conversations with, and that has never come about. No one has ever said that has ever been an experience. And in all my research, I've never seen that happen. But can something be attached to it? Absolutely.
Okay, because I know that on the property where that happened, the gentleman that lived there, he committed suicide. One of the gentlemen.
Suicides have a lot of emotions attached to it. Emotions are key to a lot of things. That's why when you do cases that are heavier and even lighter cases, attitude and your mental stability is important. You can't go in angry. Also, a lot of, if they are negative anomalies, they will try to get fighting to happen so that they can feed off of that energy and start building up. So deaths that have a lot of emotions to it tend to stick around. And absolutely, suicides have a lot more emotional impact.
You know, that's true, because the cases that Tara and I worked on, there was a lot of chaos in the house, and it involved very negative things. And we would go in and cleanse, and then basically tell the people that, you know, avoid fights, spend family time together, don't separate, create an atmosphere of love and whatever. And if you start experiencing stuff, don't acknowledge it, and just keep doing what you're doing. Be positive, pray in the house, do positive things. And, you know, it worked every time except, you know, the one time she spoke up, but then we had to go back.
Right.
That was a mess. But would you agree with that? Oh, go ahead, Mike.
I was just going to say, that's just, you know, it's just amazing. You know, I've never heard, you know, people that's had encounters like this. It's you know, I had there was a lady that I used to work with, and she was Native American. And a lot of people, Memorial Day, for instance, you know, we go and we put out flowers, and we visit the graves. She absolutely would not do that. She said, you go to those places, they'll follow you home. Y'all have any thoughts on that?
Well,
Yeah,
you know,
they can follow. Sorry.
It's okay.
They can follow you home. Again, I won't let them follow me home.
Right.
But yeah, but it also goes to the fact that, like, you know, I have so many people that are like, you know, they feel like everyone ghosts are like following them or something. And I'm like, well, then you'd be looking at, go to Walmart and you'd just see cans floating everywhere into people's carts. Like, it's just not logical.
I'd be gone.
Right? So, like, if everyone had an anomaly with them, then it would just be the craziest thing that you would see. Like, you know, you wouldn't even need to go shopping. You just send your anomaly, hey, go shopping for me. Like, it's just so a lot of things I feel like are a little exaggerated.
Right.
But I find it also funny. And like, I had one case that I went on, and a team told him that this guy was the gatekeeper. And I said,
yeah.
who's the keymaster? And they literally were like, oh, I don't know. And it was a Ghostbuster joke. Like, you know, when I hear crazy stuff from other teams, I call it out.
Right.
So, but yeah.
So what
You know,
would be like if, say, Ron or even you were going to go to, say, somebody that may possibly be either, let's say, possessed? What would be some of the things that you first look for to make sure that it's a possession, not a mental illness, that it's an actual spiritual possession?
Go ahead, Carol.
Go ahead.
I can tell when I pull up to the house what it's going to be before I even walk in. When I pull up to the house, possessions have a whole different energy.
Yep.
It is a whole different beast. It has a different smell to it, a different atmosphere. It is.
You
It
can
is
tell me.
just. I'm trying to think of how to describe it, because it is just a whole different.
Just you saying that made me just automatically, I started thinking, like, you said smells, right? Is
Yeah.
that why when there's a death in the house that we get that smell? Because I've noticed that smell, sometimes it stays in that room for a long time.
So yes, but part of that is just the how death works and the decomposition of a body. This type of smell is more sulfuric, and there can be ectoplasm left in a possession. So there's certain things that you would look for. I'm not saying that it is going to be where someone is throwing up pea soup and spinning their head around, but
Right.
it is definitely, it's almost like you can see the shell of who it used to be, but they are not home. The look in their eyes is different.
That's true.
The feel of them is not right. It is a whole different thing.
Yep.
So it's kind of hard to describe, because it's just so, it's scary to come across. And Ron, I called you after we did the batfish.
Yep.
About one of my teammates.
Mm-hmm.
And I will never forget the fear that I had, not only for my team that night, because we couldn't just drive home. It was like a 3-hour drive. So we literally had him stay out in his car because I didn't feel safe for him driving either. And I locked us into the batfish so that he could not come in, so that we could stay there that night. And I and another friend who is also sensitive, we took turns to make sure, and we were watching to make sure he could not come in. and we had weird things happening in that investigation. But what came out of him and looked back at me, I still get chills to this day just thinking about it. It is something that I had when I had done it the first time and seen it. I had never been up against something like that, and I did not know how I would handle that. So at that point, like if the Catholic Church calls me, they'll say, "Hey, we have a case," and this is because of the exorcism of whatever that movie was. That they have a different chain of command that they have to go through. So the first one is send an investigation team out there. So I'll normally get the call and I'll go to the case. And then if it is a possession, then I immediately back off and call them and let them do their thing. I do not exorcise. I do not do exorcisms. One, that takes a toll on the human body. And so if you get it wrong, that is so messed up for that person. And a lot of people some people have some mental stuff going on and they're not possessed, but so much nowadays, people don't want to believe, oh, she needs help mentally. They're just like, oh, it's demonic. And so if they do an exorcism, I mean, that does more damage than anything to a human body and a human mind. And so we take those very cautiously. But yeah, walking into one, it is a whole different beast.
Yeah, I remember
So-
that time you called me, and that guy. If I'm correct, the guy told you he was possessed by a jinn, didn't he?
He told me later on, because I did
Yeah.
an interview and he read the interview and he goes, "Oh, were you talking about me?" And I was like, yes. And he goes, "Oh yeah, it was so-and-so, and I got it from overseas because he was military." And I was like, and he was like, "He's my friend." And I was like, "Oh no, he's not." He is not your friend. But he was like telling me how, like, if he was angry with someone, that person would be taken care of. And I'm like, I can definitely 100% see it, because we had a situation and that team member was not happy. And so it was just, I am glad that we are all okay. That's all I can say.
Lindsay, I think I told you about that guy that contacted me on Facebook, and he was in an Islamic country, and he could see the jinns. Remember I told you about that?
Yeah.
And he had a little girl following him around, and a woman. And when he'd go to read the Bible, they would tell him not to read it. And so the guy was suicidal. And I talked to him on Facebook, and I don't know why he kept talking to me. And so I started praying for him. And I asked him, Tara, I said, who's this little girl? Where and woman, where do they say they come from? And remember, I think I told you, they told him they were from the underworld.
Oh,
and
wow.
So the guy, you remember this, Tara?
Yeah.
And so this guy, so I told him that basically the underworld's hell. And so it freaked the guy out. And so he was in depression, suicidal. He had committed some sort of crime, and he might be arrested for it. I think committing one or attempting suicide, but didn't go through with it. Something I can't remember. And so, the only thing I needed to do, because the guy was in the Middle East and he was Muslim, in Islam, if you leave Islam, you could lose your life, And so the Muslims couldn't help him. And so he reached out to me, and the only thing I could do is pray for them. And I just prayed for them like 3 days straight. Every time I woke up or whatever, I pray. And, God moved on my heart to keep praying and praying and praying. And that third day, it broke the bondage and he was set free. And
Oh, wow.
I think that with a lot of people, they want to go out there and do this kind of stuff. And I think Tara and myself, we know that you have to have that relationship with God. You got to be serious. This isn't for the Sunday school pastor that talks about little lambs and chocolates and Easter eggs. I mean, you got to be the real deal to really get involved in this stuff. And that's what I would say that people don't understand, because I've had people tell us, right, Tara? Oh, I can go in there and cast it out in the name of Jesus. Good luck. Because if you're not prayed up, you're not walking right, you're not filled with the light, good luck.
Yeah.
So
I know teams that go and try to do cleansings and stuff, and I'm the one that called to fix it up.
yeah, like we did that time you talked about Chip. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you think, like, whenever I go out on investigations, right, and I'm down there and I'm looking for cryptids or whatever, and we're running microphones and cameras, and it's Indian land. There was Indian cemeteries down there. It has a lot of history to it. Do you think whenever we're down there and we get these EVPs, do you think that those are, number one, I mean, I guess they could be demons, spirits, but also, do you think that when we're down there doing that, do you think that they see us doing that, and do they take advantage of our equipment to be able to speak or to show themselves? Do you think they know how, they know what we're doing, so do they take advantage of that to manipulate it, change it, speak through it, show themselves, stuff like that?
Absolutely. We
Yep.
even have EVPs that prove that it's true. We at Fort Reno, PERG, the anomaly remembered PERG, and started, yeah, I remember you guys, and just talking up a storm with PERG and using his name and stuff. I also, my team, I am horrible with directions, and they were trying to give me directions, and you hear, "It's not hard, stupid." And I was like, oh my gosh. But they can absolutely do that. And I've even at Eastern State, I douse on investigations, and I was dousing down a hallway, and I had another member that was sitting across from me, and I got the urge to take my dowsing rods and shove them in his eyes. And so I quietly put my dowsing rods down, and I was just like not touching them. And one of my other team members was like, "Lindsay, are you dowsing?" I was like, not at the moment. And he was like, "Why?" And I said, "Because I really want to shove them in so-and-so's eyes." And on the recorder, you hear this very dark, creepy laughter. And you hear something before that, but I don't know what it was, because it's like a Class C, but the laughter was almost Jokerish style. It was very, very, very creepy. But they absolutely take the energy, and the one thing with recorders and stuff is it kind of gives them a vocal cord in a way with the white noise. And so they're able to interact. And that's one way you can tell if something is like residual, meaning it's just repeating over and over. It doesn't interact. It doesn't go along with your conversation. Or if it's an intelligent anomaly, and it will go along with the conversation and interact with you. So yeah, absolutely, they can interact with you.
I'll tell you a funny one. I was with somebody we both know, and we had gone to Fort Reno at the cemetery. And I had a lady with me that she was a female soldier, had been, and we went to the German and Italian section of the cemetery, the annex. And so we got ready to leave. And I think she said tschüss, which is like a slang word for goodbye, you know, howdy, doody, whatever. And so in German, you hear this response. And we went to Black Bear that evening and to meet another investigator. And what was funny, and I've had it happen more than once, that I was telling that other investigator about the German saying goodbye. I can't remember. We'll just say it was the word was choose or whatever. And so as we're talking, I have my voice recorder. In fact, it's this voice recorder here with me, and we have it running, and we're just chatting, you know. And all of a sudden, when I'm telling this story, that same voice from Fort Reno showed up in that recording. And, you know, I'm not the only one that's ever happened to. But EVP is if people truly want to have, and I work with Dennis Houck, who was a consultant for the movie White Noise, 2005. And I mentored under him, and I studied EVP, and of course, I'm a ham radio operator. You can see a ham radio back there. And, you know, I do a lot of things with ham. And so you learn about frequencies and all kinds of things, and we're surrounded by these frequencies. And when you talk about the paranormal, it's just impossible to truly understand how this voice is going to end up on the recorder, you know, 70 miles away. Same voice, same sentence. And you got to really think about that. And then I was doing experiments with a guy in England. We had a pros kind of auxiliary team in England. And there were things that I would talk to an entity that he was speaking through or to, and I would call them, and their voice would show up on my recordings, even though he had caught that voice in England. So, you know, there's just so many things it's impossible to understand. And so a lot of times when I don't understand, I think, in my opinion, you have to revert back to the multiverse and quantum physics. And that's all I know, because that seems to be the only reasonable explanation. So we're never going to know all the facts, but I think we've come a long way.
I think
Yeah,
it could. Oh, sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say what he was saying about 70 miles away and stuff. I had, so y'all might know more about this than me. This has freaked me out, man. It just started happening to me this year. So I went out on an investigation, and I found an old well, right, at an old home place. While I was there, I thought at first when I looked over there, I saw a guy with the coat on and like a hood on. And whenever I started looking, it looked more like a cloak or something with a hood on, really tall. And after I'd seen it, it followed me. I could see it moving in the trees, but man, it was too fast. There's no way he was going to get to it, but I could see it, and it was like it was watching. But now whenever I go different places, my viewers are seeing it at different places wherever I'm at. It's ended up being in those areas now.
You know, I got a friend of mine. He's a Native American, and he had an incident with what we'll call a shadow figure. And so he had busted his leg in 3 places, no joke. And anyways, he had to go get an operation or go back to the doctor, and they're trying to decide what they're going to do and how to treat it. And all of a sudden, him and his wife are sitting in their living room in their chairs, and his dog kind of alerts, but didn't really growl. It's like the dog knows somebody's there. And I think they got 2 dogs. And all of a sudden, the doorway's over here, whatever, and they're sitting over here. And this figure, black figure, walks through the room and then goes to leave the room and turn around, and he points at my buddy's leg. And so just that figure would scare somebody, right? And so he felt like his leg was kind of burning. It got real warm, and then the thing just walks away. And, he called me to ask me what happened, to explain it to him. And I said, well, people see these things all over. So no joke, the guy goes to the doctor the next day, and now his leg is healed. So
Wow.
what I'm getting at, a lot of times people have a misconception of what they're seeing. And because we don't understand it, we automatically say it's evil. And so my first paranormal experience, way back when, this would have been the 1960s. I said that because if I said the 60s, somebody's going to say the Civil War. Well, close enough. But anyway, this shadow figure, with a big brimmed hat, like people talk about, was standing outside this bay window of my bedroom. And I was like 4 years old, I think, at the point in time. And so I wasn't really afraid of it, but I'd never seen it. And it was just looking in the window and just standing there. So I would guesstimate it's like 7 feet tall. And so I told my mom the next day, and she told me it was an owl. Well, I knew what an owl was. We lived on the edge of town, and we had all kinds of animals out there. So no, I knew it wasn't. But as a kid, seeing that, or anybody that sees any encounter with any entity, they're going to be afraid. And to make a point, I'm a dog lover, right? But what happens when people see a German Shepherd walking around? They instantly go with, that dog could attack me. And so I think a lot of times people have these experiences and they feel like it's negative, but maybe it's not. And that's going back to my friend's experience where this hooded black thing or whatever walks by and then stops over here and then turns around and points at his leg. Now his wife saw it too. And he said his leg started burning and all of a sudden now it's fixed. So I think a lot of times when we experience these things, we interpret it with the wrong pair of glasses. So I don't know.
Well, the angels in the Bible, when they would appear, they would say, "Fear not." Yeah. And I think because when we see them, it's scary to us. And I think Lisa even had Lisa, do you have a question?
Yes, actually, I had a question about electronic devices like Alexa. We've seen, videos of how some children seem to be terrified of the voice of the Alexa. And I wondered if you had a comment about that. But also, I wondered if entities are able to present themselves through devices like Alexa, and if you've had any experience with that, or are they safe to have in your home?
Let me tell you this.
Do they draw things?
Any electronic device, whether it's a remote, a recorder, anything they can manipulate, they can and will. I'm not going to say they absolutely will, but I studied under Dennis Houck. I studied ITC, which is intermental transcommunication. And so like a ghost box or anything else, and go back to the radio I have over here, during the Second World War, there was a lot of reports coming over the radios of dead people like pilots and others that their voices were heard on the radio. So can they do it? Absolutely. And so a lot of people
did hear about that.
Huh?
I did hear about that, yes.
Yeah. And I'm a radio operator, and, it can happen. And, I studied, like I said, under Dennis Houck. And at one point when I was studying EVP, and I think I got a couple of ghost boxes around here somewhere, that I've had for years. And these were called shack hacks back in the day. And you had to go in and clip a wire and they'd scan through the channels. And a lot of it was AM FM, and you get bits and pieces. So, I had a program set up or a method, and it was always ask a name and say, my name is for the answer. If I didn't hear it, you don't know who you're talking to. But there were times that it would seem like um, these, we'll call them entities, could take over the radio and speak to you. And in fact, with Anna Lee Judd, who owns Strange, Oklahoma, she was with me, and Tara would know this person too, Tony. We were at a building in Guthrie and that has known activity, and we decided to use a ghost box. And I asked them, can you say the word green for light or light for green or something like that? And 3 times we got that word. So can they use it? Absolutely. And the whole movie, if you ever watched White Noise, they didn't. It was basically EVP, but if you use something like a ghost box or other, that's considered an ITC. And what we did at Pros, I could probably dig it out and show it to you, but we used the TLD 100, and it would shine out a blue light against the wall, and we'd find a stable place and shoot that light green, and it would be the ambient temperature, whatever that is. And then you could set it at 5 degrees difference, and we'd ask the entities to change that light while it's shining on the wall. And so you can hear the response. I have it posted on Strange Oklahoma if you go to the top of the files, and you can hear it yourself. And so Anna was there, I was there, Tony was there, and 3 times you hear that word. So does it work? Can it work? Yes, but you need to put some sort of methodology in the way to kind of counter, I can't say fake information, but false positives. And so I always did that. And I would ask them to say words like banana or peanut butter or some word you're typically not going to hear on the radio. But what you are going to hear is the time, the temperature, all these numbers. So if you're using a ghost box and you say, how many are you here? And it's scanning through the channels, goes, it's 5 a.m. And you hear the 5, oh, there's 5 people here, 5 ghosts. And
right.
you can't tell people. So I just stayed away from them. But that's what I learned to do. And so getting back to all this, I'd had many conversations with Dennis Houck over the years. And I sent him a ghost box, and he knew about them, but he never used one. And so I got it all set up and sent it to him in Hollywood and wherever he lives in California, but somewhere around there. And anyways, the last conversation that I had with him, which is probably over 12 years ago now, he'd gotten pretty good results with it. And he was asking me how to do it and the methods I use. And at that point in time, I was like, now I was at once the one to be instructed. Now I'm instructing the guy that taught me everything. And it was a weird transition. And I'm not saying I'm better than he is. That's not what I'm saying. It's just that he had never dealt with them. And I felt funny because when I was studying the parapsychology stuff under him, I would call him for an answer, and he would never give me the answer. He would tell me where to look.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and then you talk about your ham radio. You got me thinking about the movie Frequency too. Where they was talking to each other, in different times, but on a radio.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. So even today, me being Army, I was combat arms, and I knew guys, and I didn't serve anywhere in particular, just on the homeland. My enemies were the domestic ones, not the foreign ones, because as I said before, not afraid to say it publicly, I investigated the Oklahoma City bombing, and there's a lot of information people don't know. And so with that said, there are other military people I'd be around, and they would use high frequency, which is basically AM radio and certain bandwidth. And there's different ones that they go to depending on atmospheric conditions, right? And so they would tell me that some of the guys that were comms guys, around the comms guys, that they would hear things from Vietnam over the radio.
Wow.
And this is the kind of thing that Dennis Houck and others talked about. Now, can I lie to you and say I've ever heard it? No, I never heard it. But do I believe it's possible? Why? Yeah, because it's the same thing. I mean, this is a radio. It's strictly receives, that transmit as well as receives. So if you can get a voice on this, you could get a voice on that. And so there's a guy that wrote a book called 29 hertz, I think, or something like that. Anyways, 29 megahertz. Look it up. And he was getting voices on the radio too. So does it happen? Absolutely. Absolutely. And so to me, I would say this: if you want to really have a good paranormal experience, in my opinion, this is your best piece of equipment right here. Because if me and you, Mike, go to the cemetery and it's just us guys and we get a female voice and we know there's nobody there and it's as loud as we're talking, where did that voice come from?
Yeah.
Lisa, to answer your question, it's fine to have an Alexa or a Siri.
Oh, okay.
You're good having one.
Well, I'm just wondering, what if you do have something come through one and you think that that might be it? Um, like that device caused the problems in the house? It's okay to have it?
Yeah, I don't think the device caused the problems. I think maybe, you might have had like a traveler walk by, or, a visitor. That can happen. But if you're really concerned, I would say get a recorder, ask questions, see if it responds more. And if so, then you know that you have something. If not, then it could have just been some interference, maybe. With electronics and stuff, you never know kind of what else you're picking up. You could be picking up your neighbors or something. So if you're really concerned, thinking that you have something, I would definitely just, get a recorder out and try to ask questions and see if there's any responses.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did the same thing with, like I said, with a recorder. I would have, the recorder, a ghost box, and then the TLD 100, and ask them to change the light from green to blue or red, and then say the word. And I can't tell you it happened all the time, but it did happen quite frequently. And I think that Tara's seen it happen too, but it happens. So I think when you go seeking these things, they may seek you out too and respond with you. I don't know. It's the whole movie White Noise was that people do it, and there can, some would say, be consequences if you contact the wrong ones. I never had it happen to me, and I think that Tara could probably get into it more than I can. That I think it's all preparation. Would that be correct, Tara?
Yeah, so you can't just like talk to your electronic device and have a like demon come through. You have to do something major to have a demon come in, and you also have to give it permission. Whether it tricks you into doing it or something, you have to give the demon permission for it to enter you or be there. It's not like you're just going to walk by and be like, oh, there's a demon. That doesn't happen. They're not made that way, if that makes sense.
You know, Malachi Martin talked about that too, about people getting demon possessed at some point in time, according to his works, that you have to give them permission. And that's what he was saying too. So yeah, that's interesting. Go ahead.
But you know, that's another reason why investigators, we have all of our equipment. I mean, it's not cheap, but it's so that we have the checks and balances. If I go in and start dousing, I don't consider my rods crossing as paranormal. I consider my rods crossing like a metrodome, and the recorder on the voice says I can sing. I consider that paranormal evidence. So, you know, go in with a grain of salt. And also, when you're watching the paranormal shows, always know 99% of their evidence is faked. It is rigged. It is faked, because if you actually went on an investigation, the amount of investigations that I've been on, the thousands, I might have 15 good EVPs from them. And this is like hours and hours. And so for you to have evidence every hour show, that's not even logical. That is insane, because I've been to a lot of the places those shows have been to. And it's just, it's not. It's for entertainment purposes. I have followed Ghost Hunters. They did, oh my gosh, what was the house in Oklahoma in Guthrie that they did? Stone Lion Inn.
Yep.
And we went in, I think the week after they were there, and I called them up and I go, hey guys, do you want the wiring rig that you have when the door's shut? Like, do you want that back?
Oh no! Oh no! Whoops!
It is fake. It is fictional. It is for entertainment purposes. So a lot of people are afraid of, like, oh, if I go on an investigation, then I'll be possessed. If you go on an investigation, I mean, one of my team members is actually watching. She can tell you, it is so boring. We have to create our own entertainment and our own conversations.
Watching the paint dry.
Right? I mean, people have fallen asleep. We have recordings of a team snoring and then going, that was me. That was me. Because it's just not as active. And we had at Guthrie, the Santa Fe train station.
Yep.
We were the first team to capture Pearl, an anomaly, in our photos. It took us literally 3 years to find her in the photo. And I had one of my team members call up and say, we have her. We got her. And I go, who do you have? Do you need to untie her? Should I call 911? And he was like, no, we have an anomaly from the Santa Fe train station. And sure enough, she was in like 5 of the photos. And we reconnected with Ron at one of his conferences there. And the relative of Pearl was actually there and came with pictures of when she was alive, and that she died in Maine, not even in Guthrie, but her spirit was there. And when we learned her name was Pearl, she became more active. But again, just you know, careful what you believe, careful what you watch, and have respect. There's so many teams out there now that watch, you know, Ghost Adventures, and everything is demonic. And so now these sites are like, you know, unlike TV, this place is not active. They have to have disclaimers now because it's not demonic. And other places like Villisca have to be like, okay, you can't bring any weapons because, you know, that guy was like, oh, the demon told me to stab myself. It's not demonic. There's 3 little girls there and a mom. Like, it's not demonic. And it's so sad to see how these teams go in now and just ruin places because they think everything is demonic and stuff. And it's not. You have to go in with respect. Even with demonic cases, you have to have respect. If you don't, it goes bad.
You know, that's why we came up with the LTRS there in Guthrie, because of all the crazy people. We just stayed away. And you remember that, Tara, remember? So we were paying rent cable for the live cameras, and electricity. And so we started doing ghost tours to make that money back. But we investigated every weekend up there for 7 years. And so we got a lot of evidence. It's on my Pros Investigations website. People could go there and look at the evidence in Fort Reno and whatever. And, we never said something was paranormal for the most part. If we didn't know, even a face and a window, which we got, which is on my website, it remains unexplained, and you got all these people like Tara saying that they automatically, because somebody rumored that somebody's there, that's that person. Well, we don't have a picture of that person, or we know. Now, if you're working with somebody like Tara and they come up with that name and she didn't know, then I think you got some evidence that could be believable. And unless somebody somehow can look at the picture and compare the two or whatever. But other than that, I think we're looking at some things that might be hearsay or whatever. And there was a lot of that back in the day, wasn't there, Tara?
Back in the day and still today.
Yeah.
So what about the Crescent Moon Hotel? What about that one? Any thoughts on that one?
I love that place. They have a great brunch.
Are you talking about here in Arkansas?
Yeah.
Springs? Yeah, I've been there. And, back in the day, I went there with somebody's name that begins with an L.
Yeah, we went there with him too.
Yeah. Well, you did too?
Yeah.
He was two-timing us. Anyways, so, we got there. And I'll tell you an experience. One, in the garden, they say there's a woman in a white dress. And we saw her, and he turned to me and said, "Hey, it looks like that woman." And he started chasing her. And so you got to go through this maze or whatever. It's been a long time since I've been there. So I got to chasing her too, right? And there's bushes, and you could see like the top of her head. And she's wearing a white dress, right? And I'm like, this can't be real. That's what I'm thinking. And there's a sprinkler, and the concrete's wet, right? So if you go across the wet concrete, there should be tracks on the other side, right? She vanishes and no tracks. But we both saw her. So.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
So, Tara, I got a good one for everybody's going to love this. If you know, if you don't. So, you said you helped look for missing persons, right? So, yes. A very popular one, your opinion, if you can or if you know. A lot of people are wanting to know. Summer Wells.
She may have to have a picture of her or something. Maybe, I don't know.
No, I have not worked that one. Oh.
That one is a really big one right now. And a lot of people, I've been looking into it just a little bit, just on the paperwork. And yeah, that is a huge deal. I mean, I had no idea, but yeah, it's a big one.
Yeah, that's a sad one.
It is. Mm-hmm. So what about witchcraft? Does that have anything to do with some of the stuff that happens, you think?
Be a little more specific, please.
The practice of witchcraft.
Which form?
I don't know. I don't know a lot of them. I'm just going to say people casting spells, hexes.
People, Wiccans. No.
Uh-huh.
There is a darker form of witchcraft that is not Wiccans. Yes. They can cause stuff. But if you are a witch, then just a witch in general is not evil or anything like that. That is literally what they're doing is taking from nature, giving to nature. It is almost like Native Americans, they do rain dances and stuff like that. They believe more in holistic nature. So a lot of Wiccans are just really in tune with Mother Nature and Earth, and so no, and they're very nice people, and they get a lot of bad rep because it's something that is not understood. And it's just like, we go places where paranormal investigating, I've had Bibles thrown at me. I have been protested against because they think I do necromancy. And even my mom, for many, many years, thought that when we went looking to investigations, she thought that we were looking for dead bodies. And I was like, why would we want to do that? No. So it's just, people are afraid of the unknown. They're afraid of what they don't understand, and they do use the Bible a lot, but they nitpick and they choose, I like this verse, but only this section of the Bible. So if you actually read the whole thing, that's not what it said. And so it's just, people are afraid of the unknown. And so they want to, accuse first before they understand.
It's like Donnie. What happened to Donnie? That black figure walked in, and most people would automatically say it's dark, it's satanic. And if I don't think it was, because it healed the guy. It made his life better. And if it's something that we're told that's out there to destroy your life and make your life, worse, why would he heal Donnie?
Right.
And not every paranormal investigation, and that's why I don't ever call them ghosts. I call them anomalies, because we don't know what they are. But everyone thinks, or a lot of people, not everyone, but a lot of people think that just because you have an anomaly there, then it's automatically demonic. 99% of the cases are not demonic. It's just not understanding what's going on or what it is. And it's also being told, that, what you have is demonic, because that is what people believe, because they don't understand. When we go and do house cleansings or any type of case, we always take into consideration that person's religion and their beliefs. And I try to follow my cleansings to their beliefs so that I am respecting them. But I also am very honest, and let them know, like, hey, this isn't demonic. This is what it is. And so you just have to go in with a respectful mind and an open mind. You can't just say, well, I'm this and this is what I believe, so you're full of crap. That's not going to help anybody.
The other thing too, I touched on this earlier, the multiverse. There's all kinds of things out there that we don't understand. And, Ivor T. Sanderson, he wrote a book in 1972, and he recognized at least 12 other devil's triangles. He called them biovortices within the world, and where people disappear, ships and planes. And, we don't understand it. But when you look at it, we don't understand the plan there. And when you look at where they're placed, it all involves geometry. And so if God created it all and it happens, and we look at Isaiah 55, verse 8 and 9, and then Colossians 1, verse 16, that should tell us everything we should know. Because the point of that in Ecclesiastes 3:11, we don't know. But we've been brainwashed, unfortunately, to think that we do know. And we can't. We can't really truly know God and his works. And so a lot of people think they do. And then when something happens, they don't understand. It has to be the devil's work, but God's the creator of it all, you know? So I don't know. And you have all, like I said, there's all these weird places around the earth, and they're all based in a triangle typically. And it's like you got a triangle here, and then over here you got one at the bottom and one here, and so they're it's like shark's teeth. And I lived in Michigan for a while, actually Indiana, northern Indiana by Lake Michigan, and come to find out there's a triangle there that where planes and people disappear, and a lot of people don't know. So there's places in Oregon where people have weird, unexplained things. And so when we can't explain it, just like Tara was saying, they blame it on evil when they don't understand. Just like I went back to Donnie, so
Right.
really, what do we really understand?
So what would the like the black magic? I've got a person on TikTok I'm asking for. They say, what about the black magic and the astral projection?
Those are two different categories that have nothing to do with the other. Astral is, some people can do it, and that's just having your subconscious leave your body and goes places. I would say make sure you tether yourself so that, especially if you're new at it, so that you come back. It is one movie that got it correct is Insidious. You have an open shell, so you're open to more things that can happen. I don't know a lot of people that have like body swapped or like come back and are like, oh, there's a demon. But I know a lot of people that astral project, and I've done it myself, and it's fun, and it feels freeing. I have not done it in quite some time. So it was when I was very new to this field and stuff, and I was still learning things, and I was testing my boundaries out. Black magic, voodoo, that you should never, I mean, hexes can happen, absolutely, but they also have to be like close to you. They leave stuff there. I think the only time I've ever done anything is I sent a small child after someone with the name with an L.
Oh.
So whenever, so if a person astral projects,
Yeah.
can you do anything physical? Are you able to do?
Let me state this: the CIA. Okay, I've got the study here, and I studied in parapsychology. The CIA actually hires people and trains them based in places where they teach the method, like remote viewing and things, for these people to leave their body and go. And so they used it, and the Russians were the first ones to really start using it as spies. So yes, people leave their bodies, they go. There are ways that they can maybe physically manifest, according to what I hear. I can't say I saw it, but the intelligence agencies have done so many things that the public, I can't say, could ever know, but they know all about the other dimensions and how it is achieved. And there's people like, I think it was Raymond Moody was one of them that got involved in that because he studied NDEs, and so they managed to get people. And Stanford University, up until the 90s, I think, they were trying to find people that had psychic abilities and test them under the guise of testing. And when they found the right people, they would recruit them for the CIA. And so there are names out there like Joe McMonagle and Price and others who did do those practices for the CIA. And so it's real, it happens, and that's the way it is. But they mock it and try to say it's not real. I mean, trust the government, right? And so,
Yeah.
well, I can tell you, like I said, I could talk all day about 95 and what I saw, what I know, and what they didn't tell the public. But, I know that there's a lot of things we don't understand, but they do because they studied the mind. And yeah, so, and I'm in agreement with Tara. I think there's different forms of it. Some is good and help people, and then there's people that are bad. So it's kind of like a bad dog or potentially a gun. It depends on who's using it and why.
I can say 100% certainty that the government does keep track with people with different abilities. They have files on them and they will use them, and they know exactly how to test them.
Yep. In fact, they even have equipment. Believe it or not, I've looked at all this. I don't like to talk about it, but they have what they call signals that they can speak to your mind and think you're talking to yourself.
Wow.
It's all real.
So probably not safe for you to talk about some of that, right?
Well, they've got documents out there. In my opinion, the reason they got them out there is they want the public to know. In fact, they're talking about passing laws on telepaths. And so, because it's an invasion of privacy. So let's just say they can put those thoughts in your head and or project and make you think that you're thinking it when you're not. Then they can use it to say, people shouldn't practice telepathy. We need laws against it. So it's all about control in the end.
They can't control that. There's no,
but if they're projecting it in your head, and they're making you think that, you got to kill somebody when they're actually doing it, then they're going to pass laws against it. I mean, every law that we have on the books now is all about supposedly safety and security, isn't it? So
I heard
yeah.
a conversation you'll probably find pretty awesome too. There was a guy talking that about remote viewing, and he was able to remote view, and he said that whenever he had tried to remote view a government facility, that whenever he went there, they actually have people that remote view there to protect the facility, and he said they shoved him out, and he said he had never met something that was able to do that.
1000%.
Yep, I agree. Yep.
So that's
people don't know all kinds of things. It boggles my mind when I think about it.
I learned the hard way. That's why I can 100% confirm.
Yeah.
The Manchurian Candidate.
I didn't know my file was so big.
Yeah, I seen Ron. He started thinking.
Yeah. Well, Ron knows a lot. There's a lot I can't say. I'm just saying that.
Yeah, I could tell whenever I said that you were like, oh yeah, we can't go there. So I guess it would be possible for them to guard their facilities in that manner, I guess, in your opinion, or I guess
Oh,
maybe.
1000%.
Well, they
Yes.
have frequencies that they can use. Everything in quantum physics is based on frequency. Your mind, everything, right? And so they know what frequencies to generate to keep people away. It's you know, they have people that do it too,
Hmm.
but they've got equipment they can use against you. And so some of the things they did when they went to get Maduro, you know, in Venezuela, they basically used frequencies to disorient those people. And, um, they effectively wiped out the bodyguards, didn't kill them, but somewhat hurt them by using frequency. So it's a big deal, and everything is based on frequency. Everything. Atoms, they all rotate, right? And it's all
Right.
crazy. I said it before, it goes back to geometry. And, as a Mason, a lot of people think we're satanic. I don't care what they think. But if you look at the flag behind me, you see it has a G in the middle. You know what that stands for?
I
Geometry.
don't. Oh,
Geometry.
okay.
And the reason being, everything, like I pointed out, the triangles, is based on geometry. So Masons, whether you believe in what God or whatever, we call God the great architect of the universe. And everything that was built by God. And when you look at nature and even outer space and the galaxies, it's all based in geometry. And think about it, whether it's a tree, a tissue sample, you got veins in your legs going here, there, and everywhere. Look at the tree. They got capillaries. It's all based on geometry. And so, do we really know God like we think we do? I'm going to say, nope, we don't. We don't. We don't. We think we really have an understanding, but nobody's got it right, because if we did, we'd all be the same religion, right?
Yeah.
We're not.
I mean,
Even in Christianity, So what I'm getting at, there's a lot of things that people act like they know. I'm going to tell you, go read your Bible. It will tell you you don't know. We don't know God's mind. And so you have to ask these things. If God created everything, okay, why is it that there's these vile vortices and all these other things if God's really in control? And so you have to either say he is or he isn't. And so that's the mystery with God. We can't understand his ways, according to Isaiah 55, 8, 9. And so when people tell me they do, because I got a over religiously brother that drives me crazy, and we talk about the paranormal. And when I try to tell him about things we don't understand, like the multiverse and quantum physics, he won't look at it, but he looks at it with his religious mind, and he can't ever understand. And I think that's a problem. So we have to ask questions and have an open mind. Once we have that open mind, then we learn.
Right.
So I didn't say it. The Bible said it. But I've learned that I have a lot more questions than answers. And one of the things I'll say about Tara, there was times I didn't have answers. And I don't know what she taps into, but she would give me some sort of knowledge, and I'd go look and realize the knowledge she gave me was right on cue. It's crazy. So there are people out there that have knowledge that others don't, and I think we have to realize that. Like Edgar Casey and what he did, doing the readings, and he helped people. He did over 13,000 readings, helping people while in a sleep state. So when I studied parapsychology, I had to learn the sleep states and whatever. So a child between the ages of 2 and 7 years old are in the theta wave, right? Which is basically a state of hypnosis. And if you talk to children, typically between 2 and 7, they're in that brainwave, and that's why they see ghosts and play friends and this and that. They can see that stuff. Some people, I would guess, like Tara, they can operate in maybe several brainwaves at once. I don't know, but it'd be interesting to see her brainwaves, and test them. But yeah, it's all about brainwaves and the psychics and whatever. And there's things we don't understand and people won't question. But
now, Ron, if I see a brainwave machine in your house next time, I swear.
Run, Tara.
I swear I'm out.
You can go to this house anytime. But, it's all about brainwaves, But it's really amazing when you think about it all. And you have to understand simply that we're less than a speck of dust in the state of Oklahoma compared to the whole universe and whatever's out there. So how much do we really know? And if God created it all, we can't know it all. It's impossible. But a lot of people don't want to come to that conclusion or think about that,
Yeah, I know. Whenever I'm just down there fishing, and I look up at the sky, you realize just how minute you really are.
Yeah. And, I think a lot of people, like Native Americans, I was an Indian student in school. And so I learned a lot of their ways and whatever. And you can't, there's no way, unless you're outside all the time, really appreciate nature and all of its awesomeness and how God created it all for us to survive. And even one life form out of the 100 million there might be out there, I don't know, here in our world, how every one of them is in a tempered atmosphere with the right amount of moisture, right? Because there's certain plants here in Oklahoma we can't grow because it's not hot enough or cold enough or whatever. And everything's tempered, and you got to realize that somebody created it all, and it just didn't create itself, And so why is it that I had a guy that he was a scientist, and his method of finding God was he was working with the military and others about nuclear war and radiation, and they would take flies and expose them to severe radiation. And he said if they could breed, meaning that certain things have to put together like ones and zeros, right? That if they could breed, eventually they would always go back to their original form of a fly. And so he realized there's got to be something out there, a creator, that's in charge of it all. And so I think we seek these answers, but I think that some people have a gift and they're able to understand more than some of us do, like Tara. But, I'm amazed when I find those people, and you realize that a lot of people think they're demonic or this or they're that, but could it not be a different avenue that God created? And we don't understand, just like Donnie, that black figure walking and pointing to his leg gets really warm. It kind of spooked him, but in the end it healed him. And we just can't understand. And so I shake my head all the time. And like I said, there have been times that Tara would tell me things, and I learned to take it to heart. But she told me, warned me against things. Like, I'm going to dabble a little bit more, and all of a sudden it just overtakes you, And so I'm always that curious person, but I think sometimes maybe we're not meant to know, because it goes beyond our understanding. I don't know, but I've come to see it that way. So I take it with a grain of salt and go, what's important to me in my life is, first of all, this is why I tell people, I love God first. And then I love people because God made me love Him. He didn't make me, but I did. And then I realized that everybody, no matter what color you are or how big or small, God created you and you're God's creation. And so I should love Him and His creation, even though a lot of it I don't understand. And so I try to help others. And that's why I do what I do. And I'm involved in many things to help others. But I think we'll have more questions and answers in the end, till we die, perhaps.
I believe so. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and I think people like Tara are a glimpse of what we used to be, because we did have these telepathic powers, and of course it's the TNRC18 gene that they find in groups of people. And notably, when I was doing the research, that gene is found among people like Native Americans or people in third world countries. Um, and if that gene is mutated, they no longer have the ability. So a lot of people that are Native American and maybe other type cultures do have that gene that's unmutated. And if the gene mutates, you no longer have that gift. And so in the end, when I look at people that have that gift, some people say, it's satanic to look into the future. There's no way you can know. But you go look at genetics and it says differently. And then, Peter Herkoff, he fell off a building, had a brain injury, and now he wakes up psychic. So somewhere in that third eye, it was jarred, damaged, but it enhanced it. And so,
oh man, I just thought I was using more than 2% of my brain. Dang it.
no, maybe that's it. Tell us the secret. So we have more questions. So when people talk to me about this stuff, and I've had people talk to me that unfortunately, that people like Tara that have the gift, that they know things. I don't know how they know it, but it's a gift from God, and they're using it to help others. And what's funny, when I studied parapsychology, what they found is that when people try to win lotteries and do things in selfishness, the gift doesn't work.
Oh yeah, you never do it for personal gain. No.
If you try, you're going to be punished. So,
yep.
And I've talked to people that had out of body type experiences and whatever, and wandered the universe or whatever, and they tried to do things they shouldn't do, and it never worked out. So there's a system of control, and I think Tara could probably, not that she did it, she could probably tell you a lot more about it than I could. Is that not correct, Tara?
Yeah, I would love to go to Vegas and clean them out, but nope.
So yeah, there's a lot of things out there, there's just no way we can understand. And so my thought is that just try to help people, love people, and help them, and that's my whole goal. Her and I went to a lot of places together in the past. We haven't had a call in a while, but if somebody does, we'll go if it's really needed. And we're never charging a dime. Thank God always presented us with the money to do so, gas or whatever, food, whatever. And so my thing is that if you focus on yourself, you'll have problems. If you focus on others, help them with their problems, I think it'd be better rewarded. And that's what I try to do. That's what I
absolutely. Yeah, I love to help people. I've had y'all on here for 2.5 hours, guys. I appreciate y'all showing up. It went by so fast. I was looking, and everybody was saying they're dropping out, going to sleep. I was like, going to sleep, and I said, oh, well, we've been here almost 2 hours, 2.5 hours. But yeah, I know I'd like to pick your brain, but I know you can't talk about a lot of things. And I was like, but yeah, I know what you're talking about when you talk about, there's things out there, and we can't talk about them really right now. But if you know, you know. What would you all leave everybody with tonight? What would you want everybody to know? And also let them know how to find you, how to support you guys, what you're doing. Ron, I've got to know Ron, and Ron's a good man. He helps a lot of people, not only just by doing this. He goes out, guys, in the middle of the night while you're asleep in your home. It's raining, thundering, tornadoes. He's out there in it, making sure you're safe and you know where they're at. And Ron, thank you for that also, man.
Yeah, I do storm spotting, ham radio, emergency communications, all that stuff, and Aries with Logan County, I storm spot for them. And I do search and rescue. I worked more in 2013 where the kids lost a life and the teacher. Investigating Oklahoma City bombing and 9/11 and other things. And, my whole goal is to be a blessing to other people. And I don't ask anybody to do anything for me, but I just consider it my duty to help people. And that's my whole thing. And the best way to get a hold of Pros is prosinvestigations.com. The site's been up, and Tara's on it too. But I've got an email address on there that you can send, me an email. And my shirt back there says Pros on it, but it's prosinvestigations.com. And I've got a phone number. People can call me, text me. I'd rather text, so I'm expecting your call. But I try to help people, and I think that's a good way to get a hold of us. And Tara, what do you got?
If you want to get a hold of me, go through Ron. And it's not anything against. I have, due to experiences and stuff, I try to keep everything very private. So like today I'm using an alias, so it's best to go through Ron. And he knows how to get in touch with me. We're always out to help people. And so, if you need help, of course, get in touch with us and we'll help the best that we can. But as for advice for everybody, be kind. Just be kind to everyone, living, dead. Be understanding, but mostly just be kind to everybody.
Yeah, the other thing too, people can reach me on Strange Oklahoma Facebook page. I'm on there on the main admin, and I jumped in to help out. And we got it up to about 27,000 people, almost 28 now. But just reach me in Messenger or whatever. Send me an email. I post stuff at Fort Reno. We'll be there tomorrow night at this time. I'm not a hard guy to find. And if you really need help, I'm going to do my best to help you. And again, it's loving people, loving God, So.
That's it. Absolutely. Guys, I appreciate y'all coming here. It was an honor to have you. Ron, I'm sure we'll have you back. I would like to ask you, and we'll have different shows. I could go on and on, guys. Thank you for being here again. I appreciate it. It was an honor having you all here. God bless y'all, and y'all be safe. And I look forward to talking to you in the future.
You bet, brother.
Thank you for having us.
You're very welcome.
Thank you so much.
All right.
All right.
Bye.
Good night, guys.
Good night.
All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. Ron has helped me out tremendously. He, Strange Oklahoma, like you said, that's where I met him. Very good page. Very good people over there. It's a warm welcome over there. Ron makes sure that everything stays up and up. He keeps it all straight. Ron is, like I said, he's treated me great. And if you need to talk to him, get a hold of him. He's a really good guy. He's always been good to me. And Lisa, is there anything you'd like to say before we hop out of here?
I just appreciate them coming on the show. They had such interesting experiences and information. I could listen to them for a long while.
Right. It was
So
interesting.
I learned a lot. So
I'm like you.
that's
I could
great.
just sit and listen, and then I want to pick their mind more and more and more. And I'm like, man, we could go 6 hours now because so many subjects
Right.
I kept wanting to talk about. But
Uh-huh.
I enjoyed it, and I enjoy hearing everyone's perspectives on things. I want to thank our chat for everyone being so polite tonight and nice. This is a safe place, guys, for everybody. With that being said, my internet now is dropping out again. I'm having all kinds of stuff going on tonight. I got like one toe in the plug in and a finger over here in the light socket. But again, thank you, Ron, for coming on. Thank you, Tara, for coming on. Until next time, guys, God bless. Be safe, and don't be something's dinner.
Good night, guys. God bless.